Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And it's wonderful to be together again. Every week we need Shabbat, but this week in particular, Shabbat feels very necessary. So I'm happy that we're together, and I'm happy as well to be joined by my colleague, Rabbi Sarah Weissman, and also we're thrilled to have Fred Ross Perry here as well to lead services with us tonight. If you'd like to follow along in our Siddur Mishkan Tefillah, you can do so online. We have a link to the Siddur on our streaming page. You'll hear us giving page numbers as we go. If you're following along in the Siddur itself, these are the numbers that are in brackets in your Siddur. So let's begin with singing. It's often the best thing to do at a time like this. And so it's not in our prayer book, but a slide is going to appear on our screen momentarily. And join us for Olam Chesed. This week's turmoil coincides with our annual reading of the first portion of the book of Exodus. It's a portion of great drama and of many turning points. As we begin the second book of the Torah, we pivot from a story of the generations of a family to an epic that presents the genesis of a nation. And although we know the arc of this story, the Israelites' journey from servitude to service, from slavery to liberation, the experience for the characters within the tale begins in seemingly unending darkness in a place of death. There's a pun found in Hasidic texts one that you've probably heard before. Mitzrayim, Egypt, is associated with the word Metzarim, straits. That's where Jacob's descendants find themselves at the beginning of the book of Exodus, in straits, in a narrow, constricted place that is seemingly inescapable. In Metzarim, it is difficult to have hope. Because of darkness, it is difficult to see. The Israelites living in straits cannot perceive any alternatives to what seems to lie ahead. The daily grind of servitude that causes them, in the words of one commentator, to run through their lives in a headlong rush towards the abyss. For the Israelites, at the beginning of this week's Torah portion, liberty is unimaginable. We have come together on this Leil Shabbat, having witnessed this past week events that were once considered unimaginable. And we now carry with us in our minds or on our phones images of a mob in a headlong rush through the halls of the Capitol. We carry with us the words and images of leaders who pushed our democracy towards the abyss. And yet, that was Wednesday. And now it is Friday evening. And we are here, and I am hopeful. Our portion this week, Shemot, contains many turning points, and the story begins to turn towards redemption. It begins the tale of a people's movement out of the darkness and into the light in chapter 3, at the burning bush. Moses is in the wilderness when God suddenly appears to him in the burning bush, and Moses then says to himself, Asurana va'er'eh, et hamar'eh. I shall turn and see this vision. And then the story continues. Vayar Adonai kisar liorot, vayikra elav Moshe, Moshe. And God saw that he turned to look. So God called out to him, Moses, Moses. A midrash illuminates this encounter at the burning bush in which a man and a God see one another. Rabbi Simeon ben Levi said, Moses took no steps, but he twisted his neck to see. So God said to Moses, you went to the trouble to see. As you live, you are worthy that I should reveal myself to you. Immediately, God called to him from the midst of the burning bush. Moses turned his head to see, to really look. And when God saw this, God called out, Moshe, Moshe, Moses, Moses. And Moses replied, Hineni, I am ready. Asurana ve'er'eh, et hamar'eh. I shall turn and see this vision. Even in the darkest of days, in the narrowest of places, we too can turn our heads as Moses did and truly see anew. And in this moment of encounter, we stand ready to revision our world or envision a world as it should be. Through our prayers and songs, through words of Torah, we voice our aspirations and rededicate ourselves to the construction of a society of truth, peace, and compassion, and to fire our imaginations and to illuminate new paths forward. Please join me now to light our Shabbat Nerot. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, Shel Shabbat.
Please join with me on page 123 for Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. Shabbat kodsho be'ahava uratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta Ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. L'chaim.
We continue now with the Lecha Dodi, page 138, and we'll sing together verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamov zakor bedibor echad ishmianu, el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem ultiferet ve'elik tikla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lekul v'nehel katife kor haberacha mirosh mikerem nesucha zov maaseh b'machshava tikla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri kiva orech krumi ori uri shedaberi kavod Adonai alayik nifla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'v'tzola toch emuneh am segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Ya ela ela ela
our call to prayer, Baruchu, page 146.
Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, lai, yai, lai, lai, lai. Lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows.
Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. More yom balayla, golel or mipnei choshet, golel or mipnei choshet. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night.
Shema, page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. Continue with the Via Havta, page 154. Ve'ahaveta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha ayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha uvelechtecha v'aderech uveshochbecha uvekumecha ukeshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha uchetavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvihisharecha Leman tiskeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem gedoshim lelohechem Ahani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. And join us for this song of redemption, page 158, Nichamocha.
Hilot of Sefele, no rata hilot of Sefele. Malchut karahu vanecha, bokea yamit Moshe. Ze Eli anu ve'amru, Eli anu ve'amru. Adonai imlo.
Adonai Yaakov, ugelo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
We turn to these words of shelter and of peace. Hashkivenu, page 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. teach us God wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
We continue with Amidah, which begins on page 164. And we will chant the first three blessings aloud and then continue in silence through the end of the Amidah, which is on page 180. If you're able, please rise.
Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor leolam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rav lehoshia. Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim verofeh cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha bal geburot, umido melach, melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayei ha'akol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
tasim leolam. Shalom Rab al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lekol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lekol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov b'necha levaveh et amcha Yisrael b'kol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rab al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rab al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
Our words of Misha Berach are an expression of our compassion, and of our caring, and of our hope. And on this night, we offer these words on behalf of Jeff Alkazian, Mason Easley, Arlene Gilliland, Dorothy Huppert, Moritz Huppert, Joan B. Carlin, Samuel Kirschenbaum, Peggy Pizzo, Dale Prinstein, and Maureen Roscoff. We also include in our prayer this evening those who are suffering from COVID-19, this horrible week of this horrible pandemic. And so we offer these words for them as well. And you can find the words of Misha Berach on page 371.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. 85 years ago, Langston Hughes wrote these haunting words. He speaks first as one who longs for the good old days, when America was a shining example to the world, a beacon of democracy and equality and opportunity, that land of the free and home of the brave. Let America be America again, he says. And then he interrupts his elegy, reminding us with biting clarity that the American dream has always been just that, a dream. The promise of America has, from its beginnings, been out of reach for the poor, the minority, the immigrant. Anyone who says we must make America great again is living in a fantasy world. For Hughes, it was never that great to begin with. And still, the myth of America retains its hold on all of us, even Langston Hughes himself. So the poem continues. Yet I'm the one who dreamt our basic dream in the old world while still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sings in every brick and stone, in every furrow turned, that's made America the land it has become. Hughes beautifully articulates the paradox of the American dream. It is so strong and brave and true that we all believe in it, even those of us, or especially those of us, who have never had a share in it. We know it's an illusion, and still we believe in it. So it was with both shock and resignation that I watched events unfold in the Capitol this week. It was in some ways completely unbelievable. How could the President of the United States encourage his supporters to storm the Capitol, some wrapped in their Confederate flags, to use violence and terror to attempt to overturn the results of a democratic election? How could the Capitol Police be so ill prepared for an attack we all knew was coming, treating the attackers with kid gloves, some even posing with them in their selfies? How could so many lawmakers, both before and after the attack, continue to speak lies about voter fraud or to object to certifying the results of an election just because they didn't like them? How could all of this happen here in the United States of America? It is unbelievable. And it is also completely believable. Anyone who's been paying attention, especially during these last 4 years, shouldn't have been surprised at all. As Roxane Gay wrote in the New York Times this week, this is America. This has always been America. If this were not America, this coup attempt would not have happened. It's time we face this ugly truth. Let it sink into the marrow of our bones. Let it move us to action. Some of us are just now realizing it. But America never was America, not to any of us. So whether you were shocked by this week's insurrection, or grimly waiting for it expectantly, or both, we must face this ugly truth. This is America. And here's another truth. We, the people, are responsible. And we, the people, are the only ones who can fix it. Let me be perfectly clear. Those who attacked the Capitol this week are guilty. Those who incited them to attack are guilty. Those who abetted and excused the perpetrators are guilty. But as Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel famously said, in a free society, some are guilty, all are responsible. In the days following the election, when the Republican leadership supported President Trump's refusal to accept the results, one senior official said, "What is the downside for humoring him for this little bit of time? No one seriously thinks the results will change. He went golfing this weekend. It's not like he's plotting how to prevent Joe Biden from taking power on January 20th. He's tweeting about filing some lawsuits. Those lawsuits will fail. Then he'll tweet some more about how the election was stolen, and then he'll leave." What's the downside of humoring him? Well, we saw it this week. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. It was true when Edmund Burke said it in 1770, and it is true today. And that's what's at stake here. It might sound overly dramatic to talk about good and evil, but this is not just a political issue. This is a moral issue. We are in a fight for the soul of America and a fight for our own souls as well. Jewish tradition has a lot to say about how to create a just moral society. In the Torah, God commands the Israelites to create a judicial system, to select fair, trustworthy judges who will uphold the law, with God as the ultimate Supreme Court. The Torah prescribes a welfare system by which the poor and needy are taken care of, and includes laws meant to prevent the exploitation of the most vulnerable. According to the Torah, our ideal society requires structures and systems that allow the Israelites to survive and flourish, and to live out their covenant with God. But Jewish tradition is also clear that however important it is to establish good systems of government and justice, our individual obligations to the good are equally vital. Goodness and righteousness are brought into the world but through each one of us, and evil must also be rejected and stamped out by each one of us. As the Torah declares, "Hocheach tochiach et amitecha," you shall surely rebuke your kinsman and incur no guilt because of him. The Talmud goes even further, saying, anyone who has the capability to protest the sinful conduct of the members of his household and did not protest, he himself is held accountable for the sins of the members of his household and punished. If he is in a position to protest the sinful conduct of the people of his town and he fails to do so, he is held accountable for the sins of the people of his town. If he is in a position to protest the sinful conduct of the whole world and he fails to do so, he is held accountable for the sins of the whole world. Unless we think that this obligation to rebuke our fellows only applies when it also happens to serve our own interests, Maimonides explains, if the sinner receives rebuke attentively from him, it is well. If not, he should rebuke him a second, even a third time. So is the constant duty of a man to continue to rebuke his fellow, even until the sinner strikes him and says unto him, I will not listen. Even when the sinner strikes us, even when we risk losing power or wealth or comfort, we are commanded to speak against another's wicked actions. So if there are any elected officials listening tonight, I urge you to use the full power of your position to condemn any efforts to tear down our democracy, including the spreading of lies about voter fraud and including the incitement to violence. And I urge you to do everything in your power to bring the perpetrators of these crimes to justice. If you work for a social media company, I urge you to use your power to demand that incitement and the willful spreading of dangerous lies not be allowed on your platform. And to all the rest of us, I urge us to use all of our powers, civic, financial, social, and spiritual, to stand up against tyranny and hate wherever we encounter it. We're all responsible for electing people of conscience and courage into office. We are all responsible for holding those leaders accountable, demanding that they serve their country and not their party, the common good and not their own political ambition. We're all responsible for refusing to allow lies and hateful speech to be circulated in our society with impunity. This fight is not without its risks. We might lose our job. We might lose a friend. But the risks of not engaging in the fight are far worse. Our leaders and our institutions have failed us, and the American dream seems as far from reality as ever before. But even in our anger and our sadness, there is hope. Here's how Langston Hughes ends his poem. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be, the land where every man is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take back our land again, America. Oh yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me. And yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the rack and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains and the endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America again. En Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will, and may it be our own. I'd like to invite you to please rise as we recite the prayer for our country. God of holiness, we hear your message. Justice, justice, you shall pursue. God of freedom, we hear your charge. Proclaim liberty throughout the land. Inspire us through your teachings and commandments to love and uphold our precious democracy. Let every citizen take responsibility for the rights and freedoms we cherish. Let each of us be an advocate for justice, an activist for liberty, a defender of dignity. And let us champion the values that make our nation a haven for the persecuted, a beacon of hope among the nations. May our actions reflect compassion for all people within our borders and abroad. May our leaders and officials embody the vision of our founders to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. We pray for courage and conscience as we aim to support our country's highest values and aspirations, the hard-won rights that define us as a people, the responsibilities that they entail. We pray for all who serve our country with selfless devotion in peace and in war, from fields of battle to clinics and classrooms, from government to the grassroots. All those whose noble deeds and sacrifices benefit our nation and our world. We are grateful for the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that our founders ascribed to you, our Creator. We pray for their wisdom and moral strength, that we may be guardians of these rights for ourselves and for the sake of all people, now and forever.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, l'teik l'al yotzer breshit, shelo sam kelkenu kai, shelo samanak, I'm sorry, shelo samanak ge haratzot, shelo samanu kushka ha'adama, shelo sam kelkenu kayem, v'gor aleinu kol hamonam, v'anaknu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlakim hakadosh Baruch Hu. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. All my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will play. One day, 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 one day.
The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 294. And this setting is by Catherine Chapin. It's called Bright Mariner. Had I known you were going, I could have given you at least good speed. But you slipped away so suddenly that I was left standing on the shore watching into space, not knowing that you would never come back, till I felt the waters of the incoming tide cold about my heart. I do not ask for you again. I know the sea you sail does not touch these shores. I only look for a distant all hail, like the white crest of a wave against the horizon, or a signal light flashing once, sharp against the sky. Sail on, my bright, sturdy mariner. Let out a full sheet to your new winds. Taste the clear spray of your new waters. You were made for flight and swiftness and eternal freedom. Nothing shall weigh you down or call you back to the sweet earth, or the shape we knew, or the place that held you immeasurably dear. I have cut the anchor chain that bound you to me, and the great strength of my love, and the heavy ache of my loneliness, which might bear upon you and hold you back. I have fashioned into a shining silken fabric to be the highest and strongest your new selves. We remember at this time those of our congregation and of its families who have died during the past week. Nancy Triger, mother-in-law of Karen Triger, mother of the late Brent Triger, grandmother of Alex and Jacqueline Triger, and Jerome Hyman, father of Faith Gobedy. We add to their names the names of those whose families are observing Shloshim, the traditional 30-day period of mourning. Lynn Gilberg, Edgar Shane, Myra Ankelis, Don Allen, and Saul Wasserman. And we add to their names the names of those whose yard sites are commemorated this week. Curtis Allen, Murray Alowitz, Doris Arnheim, John Hans Bauman, Annette Bernhard, Gerald Besson, Daniel Blattman, Robert Bluck, Yetta Blum, Eugene Bolgar, Pearl Bragan, Ira Nell Davis, Molly Mayo, Theodore Diller, Charlotte Eisenberg, Edward Fleischman, Miriam Frankel, Victor Garfinkel, Hessia Ginsburg, Marcus Goldberg, Jill Goldberg, Edward Gordon, George Green, Sam Gutman, Joan Herman, Mervyn Hirsch, Ken Hirsch, Bill Hodges, Robert Holtzman, Genevieve Iannicelli, Jimmy Jackman, Gene Jones, Sam Kaplan, Esther Kurlau, Susan Klarich, David Klein, Riva Korsanskaya, Joseph Krauskopf, Frederick Langer, Milt Lasky, Jack Lawson, Leon Lazarus, Marian Levin, Catherine Levy, Rebecca Levy, Loretta Livingston, Don Miller, Dora Novick, David Oremland, Harry Petrinik, Valerie Pulitzer, Selma Raines, Esther Robinson, Sylvia Rosenberg, Steve Rubin, Benjamin David Rubin, David Sachs, Mrs. Bernice Secunda, Naum Shafir, Rita Shapiro, Hilda Shea, Isidore Shedroff, Victor Schulman, Eva Shustik, Ann Silver, Carlisle Sobel, Sylvia Starr, Ida Stein, Gladys Stromberg, Manya Tabarivskaya, Fred Taitch, Celia Tudeblom, Sid Tuckman, Sally Unterman, Etta Walks, Helen Walkschlag, Norman Ware, Sandra Weissman, Miss Young. Zichronam Livracha, may their memory be for a blessing. And we rise now to recite Kaddish together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divarach hirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon uvyomechon, v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'varu, amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam omei omaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudashah b'richu, Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, v'amiran v'alma v'maru, amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru, amen. Oseh shalom v'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imaru. Amen.
say shalom bimroma. Say shalom aleinu. Be'al kol Yisrael. Vimru, bimru, amen. Oh, say shalom bimroma. Say shalom aleinu. Be'al kol Yisrael. Say shalom, say shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Say shalom, say shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Say shalom, say shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Say shalom. Say shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Say shalom, say shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Please be seated. Two announcements this evening. The first is that as we've moved into the new year and a new month, we have changed the focus of our giving for this month. And I know our customs to alternate. In 1 month, we collect tzedakah for a cause here or in America, and of course locally. And then the next month, we turn the focus of our giving towards Israel. And so this month, we are collecting tzedakah for the Joint Distribution Committee's coronavirus emergency fund for Israel. And in Israel, the JDC's work includes providing essential care services and meals in 180 locations for 2 months for quarantined and homebound elderly. It includes recruiting, training, and coordinating volunteers in over 50 locations provide services to vulnerable elderly. And it also includes coordinating online resources in a multitude of languages that will reach over 1 million Israelis. And so we urge you to give to the JDC's fund, and you can do so through our website, and you'll find more details there as well. And as always, we invite you to the foyer that will occur immediately after our service. There's the website for it, bethlehem.org, the address, / the foyer. And I look forward to seeing you there for a few minutes. And please stop by and say hello. Everyone is grinning there right now, just like these folks are on our slide, I promise you. So we conclude our service tonight with the singing Adonai Oz, and I think we have a slide for that.
Adonai Oz, le'amo yitain Adonai, yivarech et hamo. Adonai Oz, le'amo yitain Adonai, yivarech et hamo.
I hope you all have a wonderful Shabbat. Molly did some baking, so I have this beautiful challah here, which I'm looking forward to sharing with my family. But if you have a challah with you, please join with me and join us in Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Take good care, and thank you, Fred.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom. You want to say Shabbat shalom?
Shabbat shalom.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom. Ya la 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 la